Hello, everyone. It's your Like Mother, Like Murder hosts.
And we just wanted to remind you that our Mother's Day merch is up on our website at likemotherlikemurder.com.
So if you guys are still looking for that special something for all the moms in your life, head on over. We have some custom stuff designed by yours truly. That's
Get
me.
it, girl.
That's me,
That's
guys.
you. Yeah.
And Joel. Joel helped too.
That's true. Go, Joel.
By us truly. All right, go check it out. Okay, love you. Bye.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder. I am Rachel.
And I'm Heather.
We bring you the good,
the badass,
and the crime.
This is Like Mother, Like Murder.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Like Mother, Like Murder, where right now we are going to release a bonus episode for you all on an episode we released way back when we actually started the podcast. Suzanne Morphews Autopsy was released today, and it does show that her death has been determined a homicide. We covered her story and all the bizarre details of her disappearance, as well as the investigation and arrests and releases back in episode 7. That's actually when we were Wine Time before we rebranded into Like Mother, Like Murder. But instead of having you guys go search for that or listen here and go there after, we're going to bring the details of the autopsy, give a little update, and then we will attach the audio from that episode here so it's all in one space.
Yes. Okay. So a little backstory is that Suzanne Morphew went missing on May 10th, 2020. So we're coming up on almost 4 years since the day that she went missing. And the day she went missing in 2020 was actually Mother's Day. The entire investigation is very crazy, very wild, as you will see when we give you that snippet from the older episode. And with everything that comes out during the investigation, there is divorce, affairs, tranquilizer darts, chipmunks, various stops at random trash cans, and much, much more. But all in all, Barry Morphew was arrested, but then actually released in 2022, and his case was dismissed. And that's what you'll hear all about in the episode that is attached to the end of this update here.
So since we released that episode, Suzanne's remains were found in September of 2023. She was found in Moffat, Colorado, which was actually an investigation not in relation to Suzanne Morphew. And then September 27th is when they announced that it was in fact Suzanne's body, her remains. The medical examiner said at this time that they believe that her body was preserved enough that they would be able to do an autopsy and find the cause of death. So a few days ago, it was released that the autopsy was completed, and it came out today, April 29th, that Suzanne Morphew's death was indeed a homicide. And it reads, quote, "Homicide by undetermined means in the setting of butyrophenol, azapirone, and medetomidine intoxication."
Good job.
I do apologize for those.
Those are rough
pronunciations because I am not a professional there. But what we can gather from that is that she had an amount of sedatives and opioids in her system, ultimately meaning she was drugged. The county coroner of El Paso says, quote, "These drugs are marketed as a compounded injectable chemical immobilizer for wildlife." Okay? That's the coroner's quote. And my quote is, remember that tranquilizer dart, you guys? The cap that was found in the washing machine? I don't know. allegedly, or something like that. I don't know what I'm supposed to say.
And we know he was a hunter. We know that he used to talk about that all the time.
Right. Right. And, maybe there's a billion other people out there that do the exact same thing. I don't know. I don't believe in coincidences. This is absolutely just, it's all insane. So there have been no arrests since, and anything at this point, but this is huge. And I'm hoping that this is exactly what is needed for her daughters, for her family to finally be able to have answers and eventually closure when it comes to their mother.
So, wow. With that said, here is the audio from episode 7, Suzanne Morphew, from almost 2 years ago now that we recorded it. It is from when we were just starting off. Trust me, our audio has gotten a little better since then. A lot better since then. So just a heads up on that. But yeah, here's the whole story, guys.
All right, here it goes. Can I tell you something?
Yes.
It's very important.
Please tell me.
It's a story.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
I know that you like to hear my stories.
I love to hear your stories.
This is a good one.
Okay.
Today, I am switching gears, and I'm actually going to tell you all about an unsolved case. Oh, this case happened only 2 years ago, 2020. And since then, there has been many stories of what might have happened. Many mistakes were made, an arrest, new evidence, changed stories, and even the arrestee being released. But with all of that, there's still one thing missing. And her name is Suzanne Morphew. Have you heard of her?
Ooh, I just got goosebumps. I'm so excited. Okay, let's hear this story. I know, I get them way too much.
Okay. Suzanne Morphew, formerly Suzanne Mormon, was born and raised in Alexandria, Indiana. She has been described by her friends and family as someone who is bright and cheerful. She is very involved and committed to her Christianity and had a very movie-style love brewing right out of high school. Suzanne is the girl who had ran for homecoming court, while Barry Morphew was on his way to the MLB. The two of them attended Purdue University. You want to know what's really funny? I didn't know where that was.
Yeah.
I still actually don't know. Is that in Colorado? Where is that? Because I want to say
Purdue. I think it's on the East Coast somewhere.
I was going to say exactly it might be in Kentucky. No.
It's not.
No. I'm Googling it. I'm Googling it. I seriously saw something. You know how like you do stuff and then like, all of a sudden I'm writing Purdue.
I feel like it's East Coast, like Maryland or something.
Why did I hear about it then? Purdue University.
It is. John Purdue is in
Indiana.
It is in Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Why did I think it was like East Coast?
Well, that makes sense because that's where they live.
Indiana.
Okay. So they lived in Indiana, hence the reason they went to Purdue University. So during that time, Barry actually sustained an injury that ended his baseball career. And then his path completely changed, and he ended up getting into landscape. Suzanne, on the other hand, she had become a teacher, a middle school teacher. Right before Suzanne and Barry got married in 1994, she was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which she fought successfully, but was left with the uncertainty of if she'd be able to have children of her own. But the fear was swept away when she had her first daughter, Mallory, and then her second daughter, Macy. Love little babies.
Mallory, Macy.
Mallory, Macy. That's cute. You have 2 kids. Are your 2 kids like... I've met you before. Are your 2 kids named something similar?
I've got one. Not at all.
Oh my God. I was like, Mallory and Maisie, are your kids too? No. Anywho, we're moving right along. Fast forward from that conversation. Many, 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 many years. Mallory is off to college. So Barry and Suzanne and the youngest, Macy, They pack up and they move to be closer to Mallory and her school, which was in Colorado. Okay. Yes, moving to be closer to Mallory was one of the reasons to move, but Suzanne had been diagnosed with cancer again, and Barry and Suzanne were actually going through hard times in their relationship, so overall, this move was a fresh start and a hope for a new beginning all around. Mm-hmm. The couple had bought a $1.5 million home in Salida, Colorado. Salida, Colorado. But even though the thought was for new beginnings, Suzanne's opportunity got cut short just 2 years later when on Mother's Day of 2020, it is said that Suzanne went out for a mountain bike ride and never returned home. Here's what we know.
Oh my gosh.
So sad.
On Mother's Day? That's so sad.
Mother's Day.
Hi, my name is Joe, and I'm the host of Tales, Trails, and Taverns. In this show, Rob and I like to take an active approach by hiking out to haunted, creepy, and abandoned places. We love the adventure and discovering the dark history of the locations we visit. We release a new episode every Friday on Apple, Spotify, and Patreon, as well as bonus episodes on varying Tuesdays. But don't just take my word for it, we have great listeners who have left some awesome reviews.
Oh, I love adventure, but during those times when I can't get to the outback, I like to listen to Tales, Trails, and Taverns. Those boys dig deep into the dark history, and their first-hand experiences really delivers the excitement. This podcast is a beaut.
Back when I was the governor, I didn't have time to listen to podcasts. But now that I'm retired from politics, I can focus on my two passions, pumping iron and listening to Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
It doesn't matter who we are. What matters is that we all listen to Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
I love listening to the podcast. Wait, what's a podcast again?
It's an audio show you listen to.
Oh, like on the radio?
Sort of, yeah.
Okay. I love listening to Tulips and Tiddlywinks.
It's Tales, Trails, and Taverns.
And what do you do again?
Hike to scary places and drink beer.
Sounds terrifying. Okay. I like to listen to Terrifying Tea Time, but not on the radio.
Okay, thank you. You did great.
You're welcome. Say, you're kind of cute. Is there a Mrs. Tales, Trails, and Taverns?
Now you get it?
No actual celebrities or political figures have endorsed Tales, Trails, and Taverns. All the reviews you've heard were written, poorly, by the host, George Lennox, as well as the impersonations of celebrities, politicians, and movie characters. I meant no harm. Please don't sue me.
May 10th, Barry, Mallory, and Macy had all texted and called Suzanne to wish her a happy Mother's Day. On this day, Barry had woke up and drove to Denver to work, and both daughters were actually away on a trip for the weekend. When Mallory hadn't heard back from her mother...
On Mother's Day, they were away for a trip?
Yeah. I don't find it that surprising because... I mean, yes, you want to spend time with your family. There's the people that and I shouldn't say the people because it kind of depends. Because one year you can have this, but you're going to accept it both ways. You're going to accept that Mother's Day where all you have is that love of your children and your husband and everything and everyone's together. Mm-hmm. But you're also going to be okay with the fact of like, oh my gosh, I get some me time.
Me time?
I get to like chill by myself for a minute.
I see it. So you're right. Okay,
I mean, that part, I did have that little thought in my head, but I was like, okay, do you, Suzanne?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
But when Mallory hadn't heard back from her mother after she had texted her, she found it very odd. And she contacted her dad wondering if he had, like, when was the last time he spoke with her. He also had not heard back from Suzanne at all that day. Suzanne was spending a lot of time bike riding and had told Barry the day before that she would be going for a ride at some point, which was normal because she would go for like a bike ride almost every single day. It was, the surrounding areas near her home offered a lot of riding opportunity, and this was a newer hobby she had just gotten into and loved. In the evening of the 10th, when no one had heard from her, Barry called a neighbor to go by the house and do a welfare check. But when she got there, she said Suzanne was not home. Her car was in the garage, but her bike was gone. Knowing that it had been all day since hearing from her, it was called into the Chaffee Police Department that they believed Suzanne was missing. and an immediate search began. The same day, the police did find Suzanne's bike on the side of a highway, or of Highway 50, near Suzanne's home.
Okay.
It was off the main road down the hill. There was no other evidence, though. So they found the bike, but there was nothing else to give them any kind of insight of what might have happened. I have heard there was no damage to the bike, but I've also heard that the front of the tire, like the front of the bike, the tire was bent. Either way, the investigators did not believe that she crashed her bike down that hill.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, that hill, was it, like, a trail that she could have done, or was it somewhere where, like, potentially, like, something could have gone wrong?
So you can do that area, like, you can mountain bike there on the road, but where her bike was not a trail.
Okay.
It was just, like, off of what would have been possibly people riding. But I'll get to that because it's something where it's said later, you don't really typically ride there if you're not as experienced. Anyways, Barry was driving home from Denver and he met with the police where the bike was found. And you can find the police cams of this encounter. So there's video evidence, I found it on YouTube, on the internet, whatever, of when Barry shows up to the police where they had found the bike, and he is just an emotional wreck, I guess, if you will. The thing is like, you never know how someone's going to act during this time, right?
100%, yeah. 100%,
But
yeah.
So when he gets there, he parks his truck because he was working out of town at that time. Like I said, he had like said bye to her. She was going to do her thing. He was working that day. So after all of this happened, he was coming home. He met with the police there and he shows up because they called him and he says like, you found her bike? You found her bike? Where is she? You know, like he's like in full panic mode.
He's like, okay.
So he's like freaking out. You can hear it in his voice that he's like, oh man. Is there anything else? Is there anything to tell? Was it a mountain lion? And the investigators were just kind of like,
mountain lion?
What? I mean, there's no evidence of that, but at the same time, you're freaking out. I can see that. Anyways.
Like maybe your mind's racing. You're going through like a million different scenarios of like what could have happened.
And I'm sure because, I mean, there's certain areas back home that mountain lions were around. So maybe that's something that they deal with all the time. So who knows? No one knows at this point. But during this actually before this, the police had actually went to the home and one of the daughter's boyfriends was at the home. And he was there when the police had showed up and they had kind of questioned him a little bit.
Right. Like, what are you doing here?
Well, yeah, what are you doing here? But then I don't think that they thought it weird. But, the daughter had told him like, hey, can you go see if you see my mom or whatever? So I don't think it was really like a questionable or like a negative thing, but it was more of like a...
So he probably told them, hey, like my girlfriend... Yeah, okay.
So he had gone there. He had said how the neighbor had tried coming over, and then the daughter had told him that, her mom was missing. And he actually told the investigators, she's new to bike riding. She would do these kind of trails. So he talks to them about the certain trails that she would usually ride. He also said the trails that she really didn't ride because she was a newer rider. So it's like some of the mountain bike riders would take certain trails and some they would not even attempt. So where they found her bike that night was one of the roads that he actually said she would never do that. Like it wasn't something that she would even attempt because she was a newer rider and that was just too kind of like risky for her at her kind of beginner.
Like that was like an advanced trail.
Correct. Yes. So she's missing. It's investigation time. And immediately they begin to look into Barry, which we'll say in most cases, any kind of cases like this, when you don't have a suspect or you don't know what's going on, you begin with the spouses or significant others or anyone who's closest to the victim. Here's what Barry had to say about the day before Suzanne went missing. Barry had said that he had came home and he had left from the house numerous times for work. He came home for lunch that day. He had lunch with Suzanne. And then he had actually texted her a few times that he was on his way home, but he had not gotten a response from her. Once he got home, he said that she was out in the back, sunbathing in the backyard, and that they had a normal night, having dinner, making love, and then going to bed together around 8 p.m., leading to the next day, where he said he got up very early in the morning to head out for his work day in Denver about 5 a.m., and Suzanne was still asleep in bed. Around 6 in the morning, he texted his mom, Happy Mother's Day. And he had also texted Suzanne, Happy Mother's Day. But Suzanne had never responded. He texted her a couple hours later, letting her know that he had just arrived to Bloomfield, his work location for the day, or for however long he was working there. But again, she didn't respond. Okay, now we are all caught up. The police have been called, and it's time to find her. So, that's the beforehand, about them finding the bike.
Gotcha.
They called the cops. Now we're there.
Okay.
A full investigation began of the Morphew property, as well as bringing dogs to try to find her scent. May 11th, a 2-week search and rescue began for Suzanne with the police, with FBI, with search dogs, and civilian teams as well. They looked all around the property, the surrounding mountain ranges, and rivers nearby. They used drones for air search and cadaver dogs for the ground search.
Dang.
They did check her car as well, and they actually found her sunglasses and a hydration pack where they were in the car, which actually made the people closest to her believe maybe she didn't go bike riding, because if she would have gone bike riding, she would have had those things.
Taking those things with her, right.
Yeah, she would have had those, absolutely. Also, her wallet was in the car. So it's just, those things are key items. But her cell phone was gone. During this time, they're speaking with the family members and friends, and conversations start to come out about how Suzanne had wanted out of her marriage. Suzanne's sister shows text messages to the authorities showing that Suzanne had recently, in the past couple months, started saying that she hadn't felt safe home alone with Barry. That he had not only became very verbally abusive, but also very physically abusive. Which over time, during the investigation process, they find texts from Suzanne to Barry stating that the relationship was over. She wanted out. She was done. And they had to find a civil way to end things for their daughter's sake. But Barry...
for the girls, yeah.
Well, that's you have to, right? If you're going to do that...
Yeah, for sure.
That is your thought.
Yeah.
Barry, on the other hand, was not having it. In one of the texts, he actually responded to her saying something along the lines of, if you divorce me, how are you going to pay for your cancer treatment? And that killed me.
What a
dick.
Yeah. Oh my God, who says that?
Someone who doesn't, someone who wants to control somebody else.
A horrible human being.
They do an interrogation or questioning with Barry in the early days of Suzanne's disappearance, where they also take pictures. So typically, that's standard procedure where you have to take pictures or whatever. But of his hands, which he actually had cuts, bruises, nicks, which he explains that, they look like that because of his job. He gets a lot of cuts and bruises landscape-wise. And then also, he's been spending time looking for his wife through tree branches and stuff like that when going out and looking on the different trails. So that is definitely something that could be a thing. All around town, people are passing out flyers and posting missing people's reports and talking and telling anyone and everyone. Barry actually went into a store and gave the store owner a piece of paper saying to be on the lookout for a teal helmet and a teal jacket, but no contact information for himself, and also no description of Suzanne herself at all, which To me, it just blows my mind. Could you imagine yourself at work and someone walks in and says, I need you to be on the lookout for these 2 things. And that's it.
What?
Okay. I don't know.
Not even like any context. Like, oh, don't know if you've heard, about this woman who's gone missing. It's actually my wife. This is what I'm sure she was wearing that day. Like, none of that. Just, hey, be on the lookout for this. That's weird.
See, it is one of those things, too, where you really don't know the circumstance because he might have been having that conversation with the people. So maybe he just wrote those 2 items down.
Maybe.
He also might have been, maybe it was so broadcasted in this town that everyone already knew. So when he's going in, it's like, hey, look for this for my wife. Maybe it's as easy as that, which it very well might have been.
But was that the only store he did that with?
As I know.
Like, was it just that one?
As I know.
That's
you went in there.
That's weird.
You passed that stuff. So I did find it weird that, he didn't have his information, whatever. But who knows? Maybe everyone already knew about it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
That's the thing, though. People act differently after stuff like this. There is no standard
100%.
way to act whatsoever. So people, we could look at this, and obviously you and I, which we're on the same page a lot, we could be completely different spectrums. 100%. Right. I could think, oh my God, he should have done that. And you'd be like, well, that makes no sense. He should have done this. There is no way to tell how someone is going to grieve, how someone is going to act, how someone is going to do these things.
Right.
To me, that is still very weird. So it is what it is. But back to the case.
Agreed.
The teal helmet that he wrote about ended up being found days later, about a mile from their home off of Highway 50. Nothing else nearby to indicate a struggle or give any more information. Just the helmet was found. What'd you say?
Was this close to where they found the bike, or
it was
off
close.
The same highway?
It was the same highway. A little bit. Actually, I think this was a little closer to their house than her bike was.
Okay. All right.
On May 17th, Barry gave an interview begging for the safe return of his wife. Emotionally, Barry pleaded, if anyone has her, please safely bring her home. And said he loves her so much and just wants his wife to be back with their family. Barry put up $100,000. And a close family friend put up another $100,000, offering a reward of $200,000 to anyone that could give information to bring Suzanne home. Months and months go by with nothing. Like, nothing at all. 4 months later, Suzanne's brother... he initiated a search in the area, but still nothing was found. With no Suzanne and no leads onto what might have happened, they begin to search more into Suzanne and Barry's relationship and into their digital clutter, including Barry's phone, Suzanne's phone records, computers, Barry's truck, and a few items found in their home with all of these findings. Certain stories are not adding up, and new stories begin to unfold. In the home, a few details that they felt were important or could possibly be important. One being that the door frame to Suzanne and Barry's room had been cracked and broken, which they actually asked him about it, and he says that he has no clue how it happened.
What?
One of the biggest things that they found during this investigation of the home was a cap to a tranquilizer dart found in the dryer. And it was later determined it was Suzanne's DNA on the cap itself.
Oh, what?
Yeah, it was her DNA on the cap. But this opened a whole new conversation, though. Barry explained that he didn't know how that had gotten in the dryer, but that it doesn't surprise him because he's a very experienced hunter. And although it was illegal to do so, he would shoot elk or deer with the tranquilizer darts.
What?
And then cut their antlers off to either keep for himself or to sell to others. So he actually told them, that's not the only one you'll find. You will find more darts around the property.
What?
I know. Another crazy item found was a spy pen. Sorry. I'm like waiting for your reaction on that one, but no one got to see your face. You heard me right, though. A spy pen was found in Suzanne's closet and was later said to be purchased to actually try to find out if Barry was having an affair. But recorded on the pen is Suzanne having an affair of her own. There's a recorded conversation with another man whom she says she loves and wanted to be with. And this gave the investigators a new lead. I feel like that kind of backfired.
Yeah, you buy the pin to spy on your husband and then you catch yourself.
Yeah, I mean, not okay. Not okay.
Like, turn it off.
She hid it so well, though, like the affair. She hid the affair so well that it took the police months and months and months to even find out who the man was. And when they actually did find out who it was, he was a married man with 6 children of his own, and his name is Jeff Libler. Suzanne and Jeff had known each other back when they were younger, and they had a fling at some point before Suzanne and Barry had gotten married. Then, in the recent years, Suzanne had wrote Jeff on social media saying, quotes, "Hey, stranger," where they had struck up a conversation and began a relationship. Hey, stranger. The two had been meeting up with each other over the last 2 years, all the way up till the day she was missing. The day before Suzanne went missing, if you remember, Barry had came home to Suzanne sunbathing. On this day, Suzanne had reached out to Jeff on an app called WhatsApp, and she said she was alone and she was able to chat. She sent Jeff a picture of her, and that is the last known photo evidence of Suzanne being alive. And also, her last messages were to Jeff when all of a sudden, in the middle of the conversation, she stopped responding.
So after that, not another text or call or anything from her phone? Nothing to her daughters? Like nothing?
No.
Ooh.
And remember, it's like this was the day before Mother's Day.
Right.
Because in my head, I was like, why wouldn't she respond to them? Like thinking that it was that day. But this is the day before.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing after that. That was the last thing. The photo to Jeff and the text messages to Jeff. So when it comes to him, Jeff had heard that Suzanne went missing on May 12th when someone had actually sent him a link, but he never came forward to the authorities about the affair because he did not want his family to know. He had deleted all evidence, all social media, and all messages from his phone, trying to keep his affair a secret. He cooperated fully, providing everything the police asked for, from DNA to passwords on the accounts. And he told the police he was actually in Michigan with his family when Suzanne went missing. And all of it checked out, releasing Jeff Libler as a suspect in the case. Now, let's talk about digital evidence, phone and vehicle. Barry's phone pinged back at home around the same time that Suzanne had last texted Jeff. Then it shows that his phone was seen running or moving quickly around the property. The investigators asked him if this was him chasing Suzanne after finding out that she was having an affair.
What?
But Barry's response, no, wait for it. Barry's response to this was he had a chipmunk problem and he was running around shooting chipmunks.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He said it was a common occurrence. Yeah.
For him to go around shooting chipmunks?
Yeah, he had a chipmunk problem, which I'd like to add that he did not give that chipmunk alibi to the authorities the first time around. And it seems a bit off the top of the head, if you ask me. That's crazy.
That is like, I need a reason that I would have been, what is that? Is that a chipmunk? Oh, I have a chipmunk problem. Like, that's so random.
Why was I running around my property? Oh, chipmunk. Yeah, so, but like I said, he didn't even tell them about that chipmunk issue in the first place. So all of a sudden this is here.
Right.
But back to the digital evidence, Barry told investigators that he went to bed around 8 p.m. that night with Suzanne. But check this out. They were actually able to pull what's called a Burla report from Barry's truck. I've never heard of that. Have you ever heard of a Burla report?
No.
Okay.
No.
A Burla report is where they're actually able to see every single move you make in your vehicle. First of all, that's creepy. We're being stalked constantly.
That exists?
Yes. Okay.
That's creepy.
It shows everything from when you open doors, if you're driving, all of it. And that Burla report tells a very different story than Barry going to bed. Okay. First of all, Barry's phone went into airplane mode pretty quickly that afternoon when he got home.
As hell.
All the way until 10 p.m. that night. Barry said that he went to bed at 8 p.m. But his truck, the Burla report, GPS, said that his truck backed up closer to the home around 9 p.m. At 2:53, there's actually an outgoing phone call from Suzanne's phone, and then it has its last ping at 4 a.m., and that's all. Her phone has still never been found, and we don't know who that last phone call was to. The truck's computer shows that the truck's doors were being opened and closed in the 3 a.m. hour. At 4:30 in the morning, Barry put his phone back into airplane mode. But GPS can still track your location while you're in airplane mode. And it shows that his truck was driving towards Bloomfield, which was where he was going to work that day.
Where he said, okay.
But his truck had no movement or anything from 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. So what was he doing? What was he doing for 4 hours?
Where was he?
Yeah.
Was he at the house, or he was supposedly driving?
No, he was driving. So it shows that he was driving to Bloomfield. So it has to be somewhere in that range that he stopped and was off the road.
Okay.
He told authorities when he left that morning, he made a left out of his property instead of his usual right. And that was because he saw an elk. And he wanted to get a closer look.
Enough with your elk, dude.
Leave their antlers alone. But it's crazier than that. He wanted to get a closer look at this elk at 4 in the morning in the dark.
When it's dark outside?
Yeah. No.
What are you doing?
But that left that he made was also the direction that Suzanne's bike was found the day of her disappearance. So that's kind of odd. At 8 a.m., the car's GPS begins recording again. And at this time, it records him making numerous stops. Quick stops, where in some cases, he's seen disposing of trash in a dumpster or trash bins along along the side of the road on his route to work. When Barry is asked about these stops, he said to the investigators, he's cheap. And he would often take work trash to dumpsters so he didn't have to pay for trash service or for the landfill.
What? Come on.
They have a $1.5 million home. I don't know if that's why they have it. Like maybe you're saving money so you can afford a $1.5 million home. But in my opinion, you can afford the landfill. At around 8:45 a.m., he arrives to the hotel that he's going to be staying at for work in Denver. Or the Denver area, and they have photo evidence of him walking into the hotel holding hiking boots, a teal article of clothing, and bags.
No!
Yeah. Reminder, the note that he gave that store owner.
Jacket and helmet. Oh
yes,
my God.
Exactly. he gave the store owner the note saying, to look for the teal helmet and the teal jacket.
Right.
Well, the helmet had been found, but could that be the jacket?
Never was. Oh.
He's seen later at a McDonald's trash can, throwing away items and pushing the trash down, like with both of his hands, like pushing it, compacting it. After that, he takes his car his truck to get a car wash. He stops and throws more trash away at another dumpster location.
Oh, God,
Investigators believe, I feel like that is the number one thing. If you do anything wrong, if you get a car wash, you're done. You're done.
Yeah,
that's it. That is the final.
You're guilty as hell.
That is the final thing. Investigators believe that during these trash runs, he was disposing of evidence, but the items were actually never found or discovered. So maybe they were work items, Like, they could very well be work items that he was disposing of. Who knows if this was his normal thing that he did? Because they did never find anything at all that had to do with Suzanne whatsoever. Around 5 p.m., he was in his hotel room, and that's when Mallory, his daughter, had called saying that she couldn't get a hold of the mother of Suzanne.
Okay.
And that's when Barry had called the neighbor and said, go check on her, and that ended up being when they filed the missing persons report.
Right.
Before he began his trek home, Barry stopped by his work site to drop off his shovel and other work items to his coworkers or his workers. And he gave one of them his room for the night and said that he had to go back home for personal reasons. Yeah, you heard me right. I see your face. He dropped off his shovel.
A shovel?
Yeah. When investigators
I know you're a landscaper, but that's just a little much.
And also, it seems to me like he's more in a position where he's not probably using the shovel. To me, it sounds like he's the person who's kind of telling them what to do.
Like what? These guys should have their own shovels.
Right.
That's weird.
When the investigator spoke with that employee, he said that the room that Barry had gave him smelled a lot like bleach and chlorine, and it had wet towels on the floor in the bathroom. But the hotel office said that it's actually like a common thing because his room was right above the pool and the chlorine smell was strong. And also, it was during COVID, so the cleaning teams were
everything's getting
extra well.
Super clean. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I can see that. Okay, I can see that.
He left Bloomfield. 8 p.m., Barry returns back to Salida, and that's when, he's seen talking with the police for the first time when they found her bike. That's the timeline we know that they were able to, unravel during that time. April 22nd, nearly a year after Suzanne was missing, Barry was questioned by the FBI and told that they believe he looks guilty from the evidence. They believe he got upset about the affair and that was the motive, and that with the GPS and the truck data and the cell phone evidence, texts from family and friends, texts between Barry and Suzanne, and the numerous trash stops made, that they believe they had a very strong circumstantial case, and they brought it to the prosecution office. They are quoted saying, and this just, I don't like it. They're quoted saying that they believe Barry hunted and killed Suzanne the same way that he hunted and killed animals. And with that said, on May 5th, 2021, Barry was arrested on suspicion of first-degree murder of his wife, Suzanne Morphew. He spent 4 months in jail. He ended up pleading not guilty and was released on bond. September of 2021, Barry walked out of jail with his daughters by his side, leaving together. In court, Barry's defense team pushed hard on a couple of factors. First, Suzanne's DNA was the one found on the tranquilizer cap. The prosecution was using that the tranquilizer dart story as their theory of what happened. So the defense
Right.
team fought back with the fact that it was her DNA on the cap, you know.
It's not his. Okay.
Yes, it's her DNA on the cap that was found, which doesn't make a lot of sense unless she took the cap off and gave it to Barry to shoot her with. I don't know.
Right.
I don't think that's the case.
Right.
They also couldn't find a working tranquilizer gun in the Morphew's home at all. So you can look at it a couple ways.
Well, where's the gun that he's supposedly shooting all these freaking animals with?
The chipmunks. That chipmunk,
I know.
swear.
Like, where's your chipmunk gun, motherfucker? Like, what the heck?
Right. So maybe at one time there was a gun. You know? Maybe he ended up disposing
What
of
does he
it.
say about it?
But then, where does the chipmunk
When they
alibi
ask,
come
where's
in?
your gun? What
Yeah.
does he say? Yeah, exactly.
I don't even know that answer because I'm not really too sure. I'm so sorry. I wish I did know that answer.
Suspicious.
But they did not find that gun. And that, like, yeah, just how you thought of it. It's like, okay, so did he get rid of it because it's key evidence, you know? Or
Right.
or you didn't have it there, so how does the chipmunk thing play into it? So either
Right.
way, it just doesn't
Right.
add up. One other detail that was uncovered is a huge change in the case. This is the biggest thing. Inside of Suzanne's Range Rover, DNA evidence was found on the dashboard and was a partial match to another male who was connected to 3 unsolved sexual assault cases.
What?
Still to this date, we do not know if investigators have found out who he is. We don't know if they've interviewed him, questioned him, anything about Suzanne's whereabouts, leaving the possibility of her being kidnapped or taken by this man.
Yeah.
Or
Ooh.
it could be as simple as the fingerprints of someone who had cleaned or worked on her car.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Suzanne's bike that was found also had many male fingerprints on it. But in the police cam videos, when they had found her bike, you can look it up on YouTube, they touch her bike. They grab her bike, they push it up the
Right.
hill. Barry touches her bikes.
Yeah.
Or her bike. So unless the fingerprints were a
yeah.
match to one of these people, that doesn't make sense. But also, unless her fingerprints were a match to the one that was in the freaking Range Rover on her dashboard,
Range
I'm not seeing the
Rover, yeah.
relevance, you know? But that's
Yeah.
never been disclosed. Which makes no sense. They should totally be telling us if the fingerprint from the dashboard and fingerprints on the bike are the same, because that would be a huge
Yeah.
thing. But this is the reasonable doubt. Any juror on this
Right.
case
100%.
couldn't 100% convict Barry Morphew of murder with that other evidence. So the
Right.
judge ruled that there was probable cause and that the prosecution didn't have a strong enough case, and Barry's case was dismissed. Barry's lawyers ended up
because
filing...
at this point it's all circumstantial too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Everything they have on him is the circumstantial stuff.
Right.
Okay.
At this time, Barry's lawyers ended up filing a lawsuit against the prosecutors and investigators for unlawful arrest and defamation. As of today,
dang.
Barry has not been charged with the murder of his wife. Suzanne's body has still not been found, and the search for missing Suzanne is still underway. This case, although recent,
Dang.
came back in the spotlight in April of this year, 2022, because investigators believe they may know where her body is. And, I'm saying that assuming
What?
she was murdered. And it's only a matter of time before she is found. They have not released why they're searching where they're searching, but something had to have came up. But we don't know what it is yet.
What?
Barry and his daughters sat down for an interview, and Mallory said they were ready to break their silence. She states, "We just know our dad better than anyone else, and we know he was not involved in our mom's disappearance. They are happy to have him and feel like after 2 years, they're finally beginning the healing process. But they're never going to stop looking for their mom." Barry was supposed to go back to court in May of this year, but that also has not happened. So now we sit and wait. Ideally, I would love for Suzanne to just obviously show back up, which would be a problem in itself to be gone and to disappear.
Right.
But if you show back up, maybe things could be, figured out, rekindled, forgiven, all of that. If she was struggling in a way, maybe she was trying to get away from him, maybe whatever it may be. But if that can't happen because of whatever may have occurred, I really hope for Mallory and Macy's sake that if or when they do find Suzanne's body, questions get answered. Hopefully this case continues to be looked upon and investigated until we have the answers. If anything else comes up, I will absolutely update you guys here. But that is all I have for you guys. So that is
oh my God,
the cold case, the open case of Suzanne Morphew. And I'd actually like to hear what you guys think. What maybe some of you guys know about this case. Maybe you guys know something I didn't say. I tried to know every single thing, but it's like, if you guys know anything, message us, write it in the comment section. We want to hear all about it. But if I hear anything, I will absolutely update you guys. We're hoping that something gets answered soon. They kept saying, April, May. It's now July, so hopefully sooner than later. And we will let you know. We will let you know here.
Dang.
Isn't that crazy? That's a wild one.
That is such a crazy story.
It is. All right. Well, as for that, we will talk to you guys next week. Whoop, whoop. Whoop, whoop. All right. Bye.
Kill you. Bye.
Kill you. Bye.
It is solvable. It was solvable 2 weeks after it happened.
March 25th, 2004, Cross Plains, Tennessee. Their last day? ? Jennifer, just 21, stands in the kitchen of her boyfriend Joey Benton's family home, where she and her 2-year-old daughter, Adriana Wicks, have been living. She has the only phone in the home in her hand and is on a call with her father. Jennifer expresses how the night before she and her boyfriend's parents, Joe and Cindy Benton, had been involved in a very heated argument. In fact, it was so heated that Jennifer was still rattled from the night before. She moves the receiver down to talk to a muffled female voice coming from behind her. She then says goodbye to her father and hangs up the phone. And what happens next? Well, that's what we're here to find out, isn't it? Jennifer and Adriana Wicks have not been seen or heard from since March 25th, 2004. I'm a true crime investigative podcaster living in the same town where the Wicks girls went missing. Hi, I'm Jules, and I've teamed up with Jennifer's sister, Casey Robinson, to ask some big questions from our little hush town that we've been too afraid to ask each other over the last 20 years. Where are Jennifer and Adriana Wicks? Small towns talk, and guess what? We're listening. Missing in Hushtown is coming 2024 wherever you get your podcasts. The entire first season will drop in August. We'll see you then.